What's going on, everyone? This is Mitch with SC Weather. Hope you are having a great Sunday morning. Today is going to be very active as far as severe weather. There's currently a line of storms moving into North Georgia and to eastern areas of Tennessee that's going to affect the rest of Georgia and the Carolinas up to Virginia. The main threat today is going to be strong winds, and this thing's going to blow through obviously west to east. So if you're in the more eastern areas, the atmosphere is going to have a little bit more time to destabilize due to it warming up ahead of the cold front that's going to obviously change the air mass to a much more stable and cooler air mass. So we're going to talk about the main threat. We're going to kind of talk about the timeline of this as it moves through and really break all this down. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely consider doing that. Like the video, and thank you all for tuning in. And let's get going with this. So first off, let's just talk about this. There is a slight risk. This really hasn't changed from last night. A slight risk stretching all the way to Atlanta. Obviously, the storms are already starting to get really close to Atlanta now. But there's enhanced risk, a little small area in Virginia and small area of North Carolina. But this is mainly due to strong winds. And the tornado threat's decently low. There's a higher threat up here to the Virginia and North Carolina border. But the wind threat is definitely higher. So really going forward here, let's look at the radar and see where this line of storms at. It's right here. So this track is going to move here, and the line of storms stretches up here too. But I'm just going to show you this right here. Atlanta, the line of storms is, it's still at the Alabama-Georgia border, but it's kind of stretching a little bit more to your north. So this line of storms is going to continue to make its way through Georgia, going to affect the Atlanta area, the Greenville area, Charlotte, Columbia later this afternoon, and get into the Sandhills of North Carolina. And this area right here is going to have more time. I should have did this circle a little bit further this way. Really, all this entire area is going to have time to really heat up more, and due to just the fact that it's moving in later in the day. So, my concerns kind of in this area is for stronger winds, just due to by the time the line of storms gets to this area, it's going to have a chance to re-intensify. And I'm going to kind of show you what I mean here as we look at the HRRR run model. First off, I want to show you temperatures. As we into the coming hours, it's going to warm up quickly, especially areas that are ahead of the line. The storms are already moving through certain areas, and the temperatures aren't going to warm up much behind that. But check out how temperatures, and you can tell where the line of storms is judging off temperatures. But temperatures warm up quickly this afternoon. I would not be surprised if areas, maybe Charlotte might hit 80 briefly, but Columbia points east and south, mid to upper 80s. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere like Florence briefly touches 90 degrees, even though it's just saying 86 here. The Sandhills, someone in the southern areas may hit 90 degrees briefly before this line of storms comes through. The winds are going to be whipping out the south ahead of this line. This is just how it is. You got two different air masses about to clash here, and there's about to be a drastic shift in the wind direction just because you have a cold front coming out the northwest. So it's going to warm up very quickly today across the Carolinas, especially the eastern Carolinas, like the Midlands of South Carolina, through the eastern areas of the Piedmont east. So it's going to warm up quick, but here's the line of storms that we have to worry about as we're getting going here in time. They're crossing the mountains. They're getting into the upstate of South Carolina as we get into late morning, closing in on noon. I think around between 11 a.m. and 12 o'clock, they'll start to get into the Greenville, Spartanburg area. And then this is hour by hour. You get later in the afternoon. Notice the line of storms kind of breaks up. It looks pretty intense up here around the Raleigh area, but it starts to break up. But what I'm wondering here is it starts to re-intensify. It looks like around the Midlands of South Carolina, and then another line kind of forms right up here. And I think this might have a chance to really make some nasty weather, especially in the North Carolina area. And I wouldn't be surprised if this extends further into the Midlands too. If you're taking the HRRR model by gospel, it really doesn't look that bad. But considering the fact that it's a line of storms, there's going to be a strong wind threat. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some shelf clouds out there. Shelf cloud looks like basically a spaceship. If you've ever seen Independence Day, where they look up in the sky and they see the big old spaceship, that's where they kind of get the shelf cloud thing from. But check out this storm. It looks really intense at the North Carolina-Virginia border. That's actually where the enhanced risk is. So it makes sense that the most intense storm in mid to late afternoon into the early evening is in this area. But we have to watch for this line of storms to intensify as it moves through and it gets kind of messy. But check out the snow showing up behind all this in West Virginia and parts of Virginia. That's because there's a lot of cold air filtering behind this. If you go back and look at the temperatures, check out how the temperatures drop behind it. We're going to go from the mid-80s today and wake up tomorrow morning in a lot of areas, potentially in the 30s and 40s. It's going to cool down drastically behind this cold front. So that's why this line of storms has a chance to be so intense, because it's a powerful cold front. And that's normally how it happens in springtime. But check out the winds gusting ahead of the line. As the line moves through, this is potential wind gusts. You have 40. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody sees a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust with this front and the winds start kicking in the mountains. But check out the reds and the grays showing up in Virginia. And I really think that's why the enhanced risk is up here, because it's showing stronger winds associated with this storm up here. So gonna be a chance to see some strong winds. Other areas, and look how the winds pick up in the mountains if this cold front kicks in. They start screaming in the mountains here. And it's going to obviously be a windy day throughout the night and probably into Monday, as you have a stout northwest wind, a north wind, really flowing behind this cold front. It's going to be much colder day tomorrow. So any sports events, it's going to be threatened today, like baseball, for instance, like the South Carolina-Florida game. Just an example right there, will be threatened by this as they start at noon. The latter part of the game will be threatened by this. So just stay weather aware today. Some areas will get hit harder than others. Some areas might get skipped altogether, depending on where the line breaks up. So it's really hard to predict that until we can get this line of storms into range to where we can physically see where they're going to hit and where they're not. But some areas really have a chance to get hit harder than others. So we have to really watch out for that. But that's all I got. Y'all have a great day and stay weather aware.